Welcome back. Happy April 7th, 2021. Former Major League Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent writes in the Wall Street Journal today, quote, "The Midsummer All-Star Game is an exhibition that benefits only the city where it's played. It was reported Tuesday morning that Denver will be the new host. The players will get paid no matter where the game takes place. MLB will get the same television revenue. The only people hurt by the current commissioner, Rob Manfred's decision to leave Atlanta will be Atlanta's stadium workers and local vendors. The talk shows and editorial pages are full of questions. What is the basis for acting so forcefully against Georgia? If Georgia is racist, how can baseball talk of doing business with China? Mr. Manfred failed to spell out specific criticisms of Georgia's voting law. Now he's put himself in the awkward position of having to defend Colorado's voting laws. During my time as commissioner, I learned that the American people view baseball as a public trust. They want the game to stand for the best and noblest of our national virtues. They see baseball as the repository of their dreams, even as they root for their favorite teams. They don't want and won't accept anything that separates them from the game's history and leadership. Major League Baseball can't become a weapon in the culture wars, a hostage for one political party or ideology. It can't be only for the rich or the poor, nor can it only be for one race as it was until 1947. Baseball must always stand above politics and its dark elements of corruption, greed, and sordid selfishness. It can't go wrong by standing for national greatness. The situation calls to mind the 2006 Duke lacrosse case, when many erred by leaping to a conclusion based on assumptions rather than carefully considering facts. I've done the same thing to my regret. Much rides on Commissioner Manfred's shoulders, so he must be prudent. Perhaps he now sees how complicated these issues can become." Close quote. Ding, ding, ding. Mr. Vincent stumbled right on it. When he wrote, quote, "Major League Baseball can't go wrong by standing for national greatness," close quote, he wrote the cultural history of the last 5 years. Sports, professional athletics, typically a place where we as Americans stand for national greatness more prominently than anywhere else. We sing for it, too. It's called the national anthem, or Star-Spangled Banner, and that representation of pride in this country is exactly what the elites in professional sports have been taking away from us and from this country at the beginning of those sports games. Colin Kaepernick started this movement, but it's moved well beyond him in football, and it's, of course, centered on issues of race, because the most racially integrated and least racist country in the world is the USA, and I challenge anyone to prove me wrong about that. Because of this, we cannot take national pride in our country because of racism. This is so circular. The only way to overcome its illogic is to deny the premise that the United States is great to begin with. Andrew Cuomo said the quiet part out loud last year when he said the United States was never really that great. Hillary Clinton had spoken of the same, so too the Obamas. And probably 98% of liberal arts professors and 80% of high school social studies and English and history teachers believe and teach this as well. So do the major news organizations. The catalyst for all this was an accusation against cops, and their racist beliefs, attitudes, and institutions. Funny thing nobody ever seemed to connect, though. The national anthem, if it pays tribute to any institution, it's not the police, it's not the cops, it's the U.S. military. And funny thing nobody ever seems to connect. The U.S. military may be the most integrated and least racist institution in the world. It led integration efforts in the United States under Harry Truman and is today just a little below 50% people of color. The United States itself is about 25% people of color. In other words, the United States military does a better job of integration and can boast a higher percentage of minorities than the United States as a whole. So the tribute song to that institution, the U.S. military, the national anthem, is the locus of protest by those who push racist American narratives? It's a double irony here, a double irony. The most integrated and least racist country in the world causes the most ire and rioting from those protesting racism, and one of their civil targets for their protest and riot is against a song whose tributing institution is the least racist and most integrated institution in the United States, the military. In other words, the wokies not only have the wrong defendant in the wrong court, they have all this wrong as they speech, march, and riot for justice and equality. The more he spoke of his honor, the faster we counted our spoons, Emerson said. But let's get after this a bit more, shall we? Because there's a problem with sports in American culture and all this racialism being thrown around here. Aside from the fact that I'm not sure there's a single institution that has engulfed and enriched more persons of color than professional athletics in America, it has done so by doing the one thing most conservatives agree on and most leftists disagree on when it comes to overcoming racism. Professional athletics truly has disregarded color in hiring, and hiring only exclusively based on talent. The NFL can thus be nearly 70% African American in a country of 13% African Americans without anyone blinking an eye. The Major League Baseball is well over 80% persons of color. The NBA is 75% black. Again, nobody bats an eye or thinks to make an issue here. Why? Two reasons. To quote Professor David Gelernter in America, we take the NFL seriously in America. We take other things that we should take seriously as unseriously as possible. We play games with the social experimentation of our soldiers in the military, and play games with the social experimentation of empowering our youth to make permanent decisions about their gender. We put underqualified people in schools and workplaces because we want to see racial quotas met, thus proving we are not serious about schools and those workplaces and industries, and effort, and work, and accomplishment, and excellence. But we would never dream of doing that in the NFL, MLB, or NBA, because in America, we take sports seriously. Or do we? Once upon a time, sports was politics-free and about fairness and rules and competition. And may the best man or best woman or best team win. William Bennett wrote that no matter what else it is, sports has always been an arena in which children can grow in light of unambiguous, tangible, universal standards and measures. With proper supervision and coaching, the only limits are those of an individual's abilities and the abilities of the best players of the game. Sports is still an activity in which excellence can be seen and reached for and approximated each day, close quote. Sports can be. They were. That's what Faye Vincent was getting at. But now taking a child to a professional athletics or sports game is likely to solicit as the first question from the child, not, "Hey, Dad, what is that third ring on the court for?" or "Why are there more referees for this game than the basketball game we watched?" Instead of questions like that, it's just as, or more likely, that the child's first questions to adults taking them to professional sports games these days will be along the lines of, "Dad, why do I stand for the national anthem at school, but these guys kneel on their knees?" When they ask that question, will parents have a good answer? Will children grow in light of ambiguous, intangible, and non-universal measures of relativism? Will their heroes teach them to hate this country that is made of their heroes? Well, heroes and multimillionaire heroes at that. Or will you stop taking them to those sports games? If I may, to the other major cultural debate, a bit more than nascent now, but not older than 10 years ago, children and transgenderism, and conservatism. Sometimes it seems the people who need our discussions about conservatism, what it is and what it means, people who need those discussions, it seems most, are some of our soi-disant conservative elected officials. Did you see Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson on Tucker Carlson last night? The governor vetoed a bill, Republican governor vetoed a bill that would have prevented physicians from providing what's called gender-affirming health care to transgender minors, including hormones, puberty blockers, and transition-related surgeries, as ABC reports it. Hutchinson told Tucker it was time to get government out of personal decisions, and that's what conservatism should mean. He said we need to broaden the party and get back to principle. That's a direct quote. He said we need to broaden the party and get back to principle. Cart, horse, Governor. Nearly by definition, you cannot hew strongly to a principle and broaden the membership of that group, not without laying predicative work you seem unable to provide. I also must report how precious it is to me for people of the liberal left, to which I would now add Governor Hutchinson here, people of the liberal left only wanting government involvement in what they call personal and private decisions or arenas when it comes to regulations, when it suits their demand and desire, and then invoke libertarian principle and theory when it comes to using the government to put controls and guardrails around what they brought the government into in the first place. In other words, they disregard the wholesale problem and give us all a retail problem. Put government in here, say abortion. Now that it's there, fight like hell any and all guardrails or regulations as government interference and find your inner libertarian all of a sudden. Once you've put the government there, now it's hands off. Never mind that, as Thomas Jefferson put it, to compel a man to furnish contributions for the propagation of opinions which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical. What Hutchinson misunderstands is everything. I fear in our party he is not alone. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.